Well, hello, everybody. It's me, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. It's Friday, about 20 after 12. Time for another Bigfoot encounter sent in by either you, a subscriber, or an email. Takes place in Colorado. Bigfoot story, encounter, if you will. Please subscribe to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube if not already. For those of you that just watch the videos, thank you. But for those that maybe are not aware, I do 3 live shows each and every week. Tuesday night, 9 o'clock in the East on my channel, Beyond BMR with Krista. Thursday afternoon brunch with Bigfoot Michigan Rob with Tex at 1 o'clock. And Saturday night at midnight with myself, Krista, Brandy, and Monica from our paranormal world. We are on midnight, and we talk about a bunch of creepy stuff. It's a pretty cool show. All 3 shows are good. And I got to tell you, for those of you that were looking for brunch with Bigfoot Rob, Thursday was not on because somebody in a car hit a power pole. So took out the power in my area for about 5 or 6 hours before they repaired it. And I got to tell you something. This is the second time that's happened in the last year and a half, 2 years. Thinking maybe the city should find another spot for the power pole, eh? I don't know. Anyways, so I don't cancel shows unless I'm out of power or there's technical difficulties, but I'll be back on Thursday with Tex. With that being said, like, share, subscribe. Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters, my book on Amazon. It's already been on the market for a year. Thank you for those that bought it. Leave a review. Book 2 is already coming out here in August. Just waiting on, I got to finish up some edits and on my book cover, which is being done by Jason McLean, as he did the first cover. So with that being said, hope you enjoy this. Again, a Bigfoot encounter taking place in Colorado. Back during the Christmas season in 2020, my wife and family spent time at our family ranch style home outside of Estes Park in Colorado. We love the view of the mountains and the forest surrounding our 2,000 square foot home. It just feels like Christmas with the snow and beautiful scenery. Typically, we spend November and December during the winter and July and August during the summertime at this house. We had purchased the ranch back in 2015 after successfully selling our family business in the home improvement market. Our main home is located outside of Denver. We loved owning both properties, one for relaxation, with the other keeping up with the typical hustle and bustle of the mainstream. We were fortunate enough to appreciate both lifestyles. In 2020, this was the first time since purchasing the Estes Park home that we did not arrive until the first week in December. Like I mentioned earlier, we normally spend November there, but my wife, Brenda's mother, became terminally ill. So we found it best to stay within a close proximity to Brenda's mom. My 23-year-old son Jake lived with us, and our daughter Ann, a few years older than Jake, was married and lived on the West Coast in Los Angeles with her husband Bob, who owns a thriving real estate business. In fact, it was Bob who found this beautiful gem in Estes Park through one of his real estate partners in Colorado. One of the best things about our home, it was private, yet we were friends. Yet there were friends within the 3 other homeowners on this section of land. To give you a better picture, there are 4 houses spread about a quarter mile in between parcels. The 3 homeowners were living here prior to us with different time periods from time to time over 4 years. So we were all newer to this part of Colorado. We had privacy at the end. We had privacy at the same time during the summer. It was a quick golf cart ride over to visit our neighbors or jump on a snow machine during the winter. When we pulled up early that December after settling into our home, Jake and I went off to look for a Christmas tree to cut down in our beautiful forest, with the mountains serving as a backdrop to our house. Surprisingly, for this time of year, there was perhaps a foot of snow already covering the ground. We revved up our Yamaha snowmobile, connected our trailer to the sleds for the tree, and off we sped. We reached the tree line, which was lined up with great prospects for my son and I to choose. Upon our approach, I noticed footprints or tracks paralleling the tree line. What was most unusual is these tracks were not of the usual animal prints that roam the forest. These appeared human like. You could actually see toes. Now, some were covered with snow being blown about the tracks, and certainly some of the snow had melted about the track. Several, however, were very distinctive with a variety of sizes. I had pulled out my measuring tape and recorded sizes of 23 inches by 7 inches, 19 inches by 5 inches, and a smaller set that was only about 11 inches by 4 inches. They were all in a straight pattern along the tree line, then turned back into the forest about 10 feet. Then the prints were gone. My son and I were excited about finding this, yet perplexed at the sudden vanishing of the tracks further into the woods. My son and I immediately started asking each other if these were Sasquatch prints. Jake and I loved and believed in Bigfoot. In fact, my brother Steve did Bigfoot research and always was telling us about his findings. So, we were very well informed on the subject. We took some pictures to show my wife and started looking for our tree. About a half hour into our search for our Christmas tree, pine cones started being tossed at us from the depths of the woods. Startled, my son and I just knew that this had to be a Bigfoot. Who else is tossing pine cones at us? Certainly nobody else was around, at least not a human. We were not scared. The cones can't hurt us as they fell about 4 or 5 feet just from us, like they were placed there. This went on for about 5 minutes. Then it stopped. Jake and I continued on looking for our tree to cut down. We were excited about getting our tree and even more excited to get back to tell Brenda what we had experienced. We loaded the tree to our trailer, and just before starting the Yamaha sled, a very loud and thunderous whoop was blasted out from the forest. We didn't start the snowmobile. We waited a few moments to listen for another whoop. Nothing more could be heard, and we started back to the ranch. I immediately told Brenda, and she shared in the excitement that exuded from Jake and I. We calmed down a little bit and prepared dinner. Later in the evening, around 8 p.m., the moon was high and bright, and the snow glistened upon the ground. Our family, was sitting around our fireplace and admiring our brand new Christmas tree. Brenda said, "Honey and Jake, you have outdone yourselves on this tree." Almost immediately after Brenda praised our accomplishment, we heard a very large whoop sound from outside our home, just like Jake and I experienced earlier. We sat and we listened. Then another whoop, then another and another. Many rang out, maybe a half a dozen. They all, however, had very different tones and sounds about them. The thing about these vocalizations is that one sounded just like the one earlier, as I said, that Jake and I had heard. The second was not quite as thunderous, perhaps a bit softer, if that makes any sense. There was also a third. The third sounded not nearly as deep. It had no boom to it or no bass to it. Very monotone is the best way I can describe it. Jake said, "Dad, it makes sense. We saw 3 different sets of tracks earlier, suggesting that maybe we had a family of Sasquatch just outside of the house. 3 different sizes of tracks, 3 different vocalization sounds." We all ran to our large picture window that forced the wooded tree line. We could hear the whoops, but could not see anything. The moon did light up the snow, but still, it was kind of too dark to see. Then suddenly, excuse me, guys, then suddenly my son said, Mom and Dad, look. He pointed to my wife and where I to go look at. Then we saw an amazing sight. Standing outside of the tree line were 3 sets of glowing green eyes that were blinking. The moon cast a shadow of 3 figures, all ranging from really tall to about a foot or 2 shorter, to one that was half the size. Again, 3, with the 3 sets of eyes. This, I do believe, was a family of Bigfoot. I am guessing a male, female, and juvenile. Putting a height on these Sasquatch, I would estimate the tallest at maybe 9 foot to 8 feet, with the smaller one rounding out the family at maybe 5 feet tall. We all gazed in amazement. I did not even think to grab a camera. Then, suddenly, the green eyes disappeared, and you could just barely see the shadowy figures disappear back into the tree line. Again, this took place in 2020. Currently, we still own our ranch in Estes. And despite never having a visual of an actual physical Sasquatch, we, from time to time over the past 3 years, still hear the whoops in the distance. We all know that Bigfoot are still very close to us to this day. We still await our first true and clear visual. I am sure one day we will experience that. Thanks, Rob, for letting me share. Okay, guys, that was a straight-up encounter, something that we've all similarly heard. I think that for sure these were Bigfoot. I think this is a cool encounter. 3 different vocalizations, the 3 different sets of glowing eyes, and all the 3 different shapes and sizes to these beings. Certainly, I think when the son and the dad were out in the forest cutting down the tree line, I certainly think that a family of Bigfoot was observing them. And it offered the whoops, right, which they heard. And later in the evening, I think these Bigfoot got curious, came close, and in the distance, they made themselves appear, right? Not physically, of course, because it was nighttime. They saw the figures as a shadow with the eyes. So I thought that was a cool story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for coming on in. Thanks for subscribing to Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, if not already. I do appreciate it. Don't forget, I'm on Tuesdays at 9, Thursdays at 1, Saturday at midnight. I'm off to cut the grass. You guys have a great weekend. I am Bigfoot Michigan Rob. And until next time, catch you around the corner.